Okay, so in this video, we're going to learn how to print another star pattern using Python. So I'm going to use the Thorny version of Python and let's go. So this is the pattern that we are going to be printing today using for loops only. So it may look a bit complicated, but it is not so. Okay, and we'll try to make it as easy as possible. So let's go. And okay, we'll take the patterns one by one, part by part. So we'll divide it into two parts. The first part will consist of lines 1 to 5, and the second part will consist of lines 6 to 9. Okay, so let us take a look at the first part. So you see, we'll take line by line. So in the first line, there are 8 spaces. In the second line, there are 6. In the third line, there are 4. And in the fourth line, there are 2. So the spaces get decreased with a number of -2. So first we'll declare a variable which will control the spaces. sp is equal to 4. I'm sorry, sp is equal to, yes, 4. Okay, why 4? Because we are dividing. We'll go on to further division. So since there are 8 spaces over here, we will divide it by 2. And first we'll consider only till this. Wait, I'll try to show it. I'll first take this pattern first. Till here. Till here. I'll try to take this pattern first and forget about the right side. That means basically I'm dividing the whole thing into 4 parts. Okay? So let's get going. I'll take sp equals to 4 for the right spaces, and for the left spaces, and for the right spaces I'll take sp sec. That will be equal to 4 again. Now 4 plus 4 will give me 8, the whole thing. Now I'll take a variable which is known as st, or the stars, and initialize it by 1. Why I'm taking st? Because I want to print these stars. For these stars, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. So I'm using the variable called st. Now I'll run the loop. How many lines are there? There are 5 lines. So I'll run a loop, just a moment, for I in range 1 to 6. For the number of lines, okay? Since there are 5 lines, I'll go to 6. Now, first we'll print the stars, okay? So for j in range, for k in range, okay? So I'll use I to 1, I plus 1, 1 to I plus 1. Let me try to explain you. So for I for 1, if the outer loop I is 1, then the loop will run only the loop will run only one time. So here we get 1, and if the I is 2, we get 2. If the I is 3, we get 3, and this will be the pattern to run. Okay, so now remember, we are first only considering the left portion. This 1, 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars. Only the left portion. Only the left. No right. Not right. This part isn't considered. Only the left portion. Okay. So next we'll be printing the stars. Print stars. And we'll end with an empty course. Next. Now we have to manage the spaces, because in the left portion, first come the stars, then comes the spaces. The 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4. It starts from here. Just a moment. It starts from here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 spaces and the whole thing. Now we have to print the stars. I'm sorry, the spaces. Now we have to print the spaces. For j in range, sp till 0 and decremented by -1. Okay. Now, for the spaces, I have to print by 4, 3, 2, 1. The spaces are getting decreased, and then I'll print the whole thing. End equal to empty goes. Now in the next line, I have to decrease the spaces by 1. 1. Okay. Now we have completed printing of this up to here. Up to here. I mean up to here. Okay. And then I'll go to the right portion. In the right portion. Okay. Right portion, first we have the spaces, then we have the stars. First we have the spaces, then we have the stars. So 4 spaces, 3 spaces, 2 spaces, 1 spaces. So I have initialized sp_sec by 4 because it starts with 4. Now I'll run a loop for t in range sp_sec, then 0, then -1, because it is getting decremented. And first of all, we need the spaces, then the stars. Okay, so I need to print this pattern, I mean the spaces, then write end, then equal to empty quotes. Okay, now I'll decrement the whole thing. Copy and sp equals to sp -1, the same as the previous one. Okay, now comes the stars. Now for the stars, I'll use this st mark for st. Okay, now I'll run the loop for L in range 1 to st plus 1. Now I'll first print it and show you why I have done st plus 1. That will be easier for you to understand. And yes, then I'll increase the st. St equals to st plus 1. I've used another variable to make things look a bit easier. So print, and we come here. So let's run the loop, run the program and see. Okay, I'll write it at np2. That's basically new Python 2. I'll run the program, and we get what we want right here. Look, we have got the portion of the above 5 lines. It's right below here. We've got the above 5 lines. Now that you have got the above 5 lines, the next portion would be much easier. Now we have to consider, just a moment, the next 4 lines. Okay, now I have to consider the next 4 lines, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we will write the same code with some minor changes. Okay, first of all, I'll declare some new variables. First, I'll declare sp2, that will be initialized with 1. Then I'll write sp2 underscore sec, that will be initialized sp2 underscore sec, that will be initialized with 1 again. Next I'll write st2, which will be initialized with 4. Now let's take a comparative study. Okay, here first we had 4 spaces for sp. First we have 4 spaces. Just a moment, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we have only 1 space. We'll do the same thing. We'll divide the whole thing into 2 portions, 2 boxes. Here we have only 1, and on the right side we have only 1. So 1, 1, and the stars will start printing from 4. Okay, so the concept itself is much easier. So let's go and run the whole thing and write the whole thing. I'm sorry. So I'll start by writing for I in range 1 to 5. I in range 1 to 5 because there are 4 lines. Okay? Because there are 4 lines in them. So let's go and write the code for j in range in range for I minus 1 and minus 1. So there's a decrease in the whole thing. The stars will decrease. You see, first here we have 4 stars, then 3 stars, then 2 stars, then 1 star. So we'll print the stuff, and we keep an end. Just a moment. We keep an end up to here. The next step, we'll print the spaces. For the spaces, for k in range, the spaces will be an ascending loop. sp2 plus 1. That means in every line the spaces will increase. And we make a print. And we write this. Now, although we are dividing it, the whole portion, into 2 parts from left and right, but we are taking everything according to the lines. Okay, we are printing everything according to our lines. Now, to make a conception more clear and more easy, we are dividing the whole thing into 2 portions. Okay, so since we're taking line by line, first we're printing the stars, then the space, then another space, then the stars. Okay, now I'll go to the next line and I'll make sp2 is equal to sp2 plus 1, because in each line the whole thing gets increased by 1. Here's 1 2, here's 1 2 3. Now let us come to the right portion and we print the spaces. For the right portion, I'll copy the whole thing out here, because basically we are doing the same thing, and I'll change a few variables. I'll use t over here and I write sp2 underscore sec, and we write print the space first, then end equal to, yes, then I'll write sp2 equal to spec first 1, sp2 underscore sec plus 1. Now the second space, these spaces are increasing again. I mean 1 1 2 1 2 3. Now to print the stars. Printing the stars are quite easy. For L in range st2 to 0 and then minus 1. Now in the next line I'll print the stars that I have over here, then write an end to them, and increment the stars. st2 is equals to st2 plus 1, and then I'll make a print to go to the cursor to the next line. Okay, now that should be the very end of our program, and I'll run it and see what have we got. We got it correctly. Okay, so there's a minor problem. Okay, this should be equal to 5 equal to 6. and let's check it out. Now, what is happening is we are printing the more stars than we actually want. Okay, I'm incrementing this by 1. This should be -1. Now we've got our desired output. Just a moment. Look, now we've got our desired output. We've got our desired output. Now this was all about that program. I accidentally wrote it minus instead of I accidentally wrote it plus instead of a minus because the stars will be decreasing in each of the steps. So we've divided the whole thing into four parts. First, the right left portion, upper left, upper right. It's like the 4 coordinates. So in the first coordinate, or the first upper right portion, we have these 4 spaces and stars. First spaces, then stars. In the left coordinate, or the left upper left triangle, we have first stars, then spaces. And in the down, we have first stars, then spaces, and the stars are decreasing. Here the stars were increasing, here the stars are decreasing, and the spaces are increasing. And on the left right, left down, we have first spaces, then stars, and the spaces were increasing, and the stars were decreasing. So this is all about the program. It's very simple. We have tried to make it as simple as possible, and you can check it out. So see you in the next video.